He kicked me out when I was 3 months pregnant, told me I was a burden, said his new girlfriend was real wife material. I walked away without a word. 12 years later, he stood up in shock as I walked into his office, not as an assistant, but as his new boss. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more stories based on true events that will leave you speechless. Puzzle Piece Part 1, Left with Nothing But a Beating Heart. 12 years ago, I stood barefoot in the rain, holding a single duffel bag and the sonogram picture of the baby growing inside me. I didn't cry when he slammed the door. I didn't shout. I just stood there, soaked and silent, wondering how the man I once called my world could look me in the eye and say, "I can't do this. She's moving in. And you're not who I want anymore." His words didn't echo. They carved themselves into my bones. I walked to the bus stop, clutching my belly, whispering to my unborn child, "It's just us now." I spent nights sleeping on a friend's couch and worked 3 jobs during the day. I waited tables, restocked shelves at a supermarket, and cleaned an old motel after hours. Morning sickness was brutal. Sleep was rare. But I had a purpose now, and I refused to let anyone take that from me again. At 19, I gave birth to my son, Mason, in a tiny clinic with no family around me. But the moment I held him, I felt whole. The years that followed were unforgiving but transformative. I studied at night after putting Mason to bed. Took online business courses. Watched lectures while folding laundry. There were nights I went without dinner just to pay for his daycare. But bit by bit, the universe responded to my fight. When Mason turned 5, I landed a job as a junior analyst at a mid-tier firm. 3 promotions and countless sleepless nights later, I stood at the top, a self-made executive woman. And then, the email came. "Welcome to the acquisition team, Amelia. You'll be overseeing the restructuring of Emerson Holdings." My fingers froze over the keyboard. That was his company. The one he left me for. The one he built with the woman he said was everything I wasn't. Now it was being taken over by the company I ran. Backhand index pointing right. I didn't plan to see him the first day. I expected corporate formalities, signed documents, maybe a video conference. But when I walked into the boardroom of Emerson Holdings for the official merger briefing, he was already there. Nathan Emerson. Older now. A little grayer. But still with that sharp jaw, tailored suit, and arrogant confidence I remembered far too well. He was laughing at something when I walked in, his hand resting on the back of a chair, his voice echoing through the sleek glass room. Until he saw me. His entire face shifted, like someone had pulled the ground out from under him. "Amelia," he said. Not as a greeting. More like a ghost had just walked in. I didn't smile. I didn't blink. "Mr. Emerson," I said coolly, extending my hand. "Amelia Hart. Chief Restructuring Officer from Ariston Corporation. I'll be overseeing the transition." He didn't take my hand. Just stared. The room fell quiet. Executives glanced at each other, sensing tension but not understanding the history. Finally, he cleared his throat and extended his hand. A second too late. Of course. Welcome, he said, voice low. Controlled. But I saw it in his eyes, the panic. The confusion. The memories. The meeting went as expected. Financials. Organizational charts. Performance metrics. But I could feel his eyes on me the whole time. I didn't flinch. Didn't crack. Didn't mention the past. This wasn't about him anymore. This was about me. And the life I had built without him. After the meeting, he followed me into the hallway. Amelia, wait, he said. I turned slowly. Can I help you, Mr. Emerson? He winced. Please don't call me that. Not after everything. You mean after you kicked me out pregnant and replaced me within hours? His mouth opened. No words came out. I'm not here for closure, I said flatly. I'm here for business. And don't worry, this won't be personal. Even though you made it that way 12 years ago. He stared at me like he didn't know whether to apologize or beg. Instead, he whispered, Did you keep it? I stared back. Cold. Silent. Holding back the fire burning in my chest. My son? Yes. His name is Mason. He's 12. Top of his class. Loves robotics and hates celery. And no, he doesn't know who you are. He looked like I'd slapped him. But I didn't care. This isn't your redemption arc, Nathan. This is my life. My story. And you're just a page I've already turned. That night, I sat alone in my hotel suite, sipping tea by the window, watching the city glow beneath me. My phone buzzed. A message from Mason. Mom, I got an A+ on my presentation. The teacher said I spoke like a CEO smiling face with smiling eyes. I smiled through the tears. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need him to hurt. I already won. Small orange diamond. I thought the worst was over. That Nathan and I could continue our lives separately, like the years that had passed never existed. But fate seemed to have other plans. The next morning, I arrived at the office with an unsettling feeling in my chest, something gnawing at me, like the calm before a storm. I didn't expect to see him waiting for me at my desk. Nathan was standing there, his usual confidence replaced with an unfamiliar vulnerability. His suit looked a little less crisp, his hands fidgeting with the sleeve cuff. Amelia. He began, voice hesitant, as if testing the waters. I froze. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice cold. I didn't want to look him in the eye, didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing the hurt he'd caused me all those years ago. We need to talk, he said, his voice low but urgent. I sighed. I didn't want this. I didn't want to relive everything, didn't want the past creeping back into the present. I think I've made myself clear, Nathan. There's nothing to discuss, I replied, brushing past him and walking straight into my office. But he followed me, not giving up so easily. It's not what you think, he said. Please, just hear me out. I spun around, facing him now, my patience running thin. "What do you want, Nathan?" I said, my voice sharp. He hesitated before speaking again. "It's about her, Chloe." Chloe. That name hit me like a sucker punch. I froze, my heart racing. Chloe was his wife. The woman he chose over me. The one who got everything while I was left to pick up the broken pieces of my life. "What about Chloe?" I asked, my voice quieter now, a knot forming in my stomach. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of regret and something else. "Fear? Guilt? She knows about you. She knows about Mason. She knew from the start. And she's been trying to contact you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mind reeled, and for a moment, I didn't speak. I couldn't. "Why now?" I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Because she's sick. She wants to meet Mason." "She doesn't have long," Nathan said, his words coming in a rush. "She wants to see her son before it's too late." I stood there, frozen, unable to process it all. Chloe had known? She had known about Mason? And now, after all these years, she was asking for him? "I'm sorry, Amelia. I know it's a lot. I didn't want to drag you into this, but I don't know what else to do." His words felt like a knife to my chest. I had no idea how to react. How to feel. "You've done enough, Nathan," I said, finally finding my voice again. "You ruined everything. And now you want to waltz back into our lives? After all this time?" Nathan's face fell. He seemed to shrink, his bravado slipping away. "Please, Amelia. I don't expect you to forgive me. But Mason deserves the chance to know her. He deserves to know that she wanted him, that she never stopped thinking about him." I couldn't believe it. This man, this stranger who had once promised me everything, was now asking for my forgiveness. Asking for Mason's forgiveness. After everything he had done. I closed my eyes, trying to calm the rush of emotions flooding me. "I'll think about it," I said, my voice steady, though my hands were trembling. "But I'm not making any promises." I could feel my heart racing. I couldn't make this decision, not yet. But something told me this wasn't over. That this was just the beginning of another chapter one wasn't ready to face. Later that evening, I sat alone in the quiet of my apartment, Mason asleep in his room, unaware of the storm that was brewing in my life. I opened my phone, scrolling through the messages Nathan had sent over the past few days, the ones I had ignored. One message stood out. "Amelia, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need to ask you for something. Please let me be a part of Mason's life. Let me make it right." I closed my eyes, the weight of it all crashing down on me. Could I let him back in? Could I allow Nathan to be part of Mason's life after everything he had done? But I didn't have the answers. Not yet. All I knew was that I needed to protect Mason. Above all else. Small orange diamond. The next few days passed in a blur. Nathan kept his distance, honoring my silence. And I stayed quiet, not because I didn't want to scream, but because I didn't know how to make a decision that big. Should I allow Mason to meet Chloe? Should I even tell him she exists? That she always knew? I watched Mason closely those days, the way he laughed when watching cartoons, the way he asked deep questions I often had no answers to. And I kept thinking, what if he resents me for hiding this? It wasn't until I stood outside the door of Mason's room one night, listening to him talk to his stuffed lion about being brave, that I realized. He deserved the truth. Not all of it. Not yet. But something. That night, I sat on the edge of his bed. Mason, I said softly. Can I talk to you about something important? He sat up immediately, sensing my seriousness. Is everything okay, Mom? Yes. I want to tell you something about your family. About where you come from. His brows furrowed. Like, about Dad? I nodded slowly. Yes. But also, someone else. Someone you've never met. Someone who might want to meet you. I saw the confusion in his eyes. But also curiosity. Who is it? I swallowed hard. Her name is Chloe. She's someone I used to know. A long time ago. She's been very sick. And she asked if she could meet you. Mason was quiet for a moment. Why me? Because, I hesitated, because she's part of your story. Part of where you came from. He tilted his head. Is she my grandma? I smiled softly, brushing his hair back. Something like that. Will you be there? Yes. I'll be right beside you. And if you don't want to meet her, that's okay too. He thought for a long time before nodding. I think. I want to. I want to know. The following Sunday, we met at a quiet private garden in the city. Nathan was already there, standing beside a woman I wouldn't have recognized if he hadn't told me. Chloe. She looked fragile. Her face thinner, her eyes shadowed with something deeper than just sickness, a kind of emotional exhaustion I couldn't describe. When Mason walked in, she stood. And for the first time, I saw her entire body tremble. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Hi, Mason said, offering a small wave. She took a shaky step forward. Hi, Mason, she whispered. You're taller than I imagined. He smiled. Everyone says that. It broke the tension. They sat together on a bench, with Nathan and I keeping our distance. They talked. Slowly. Carefully. Awkwardly at times. But they talked. I saw Mason's cautious walls drop a little. I saw Chloe light up in ways I didn't expect. And I realized. Maybe this wasn't about me anymore. Maybe it never was. That evening, Chloe thanked me. You didn't have to let this happen, she said. I know what Nathan did. I can never take that pain away. No, you can't, I replied. But Mason deserves to write his own story, not inherit mine. Weeks passed. Mason kept seeing Chloe. She grew weaker, but each visit made her stronger in a different way, emotionally. When she passed, just 2 months later, Mason didn't cry right away. But that night, he climbed into my bed and said, "She was a good person, Mom. I'm glad I knew her before she left." Nathan was different after that. Not perfect. Not magically redeemed. But different. He stopped asking for second chances. Stopped pushing. Started simply showing up. For school events. For baseball games. For weekend breakfasts. He didn't try to take my place. He just tried to be a part of Mason's life. And I let him. Because Mason deserved that choice too. A year later, as we sat in the same garden where Mason met Chloe, I finally understood the full meaning of that day. Life doesn't give you clean endings. It gives you tangled threads. It gives you stories that hurt to tell. But when you face them with truth, they become something else entirely. They become healing. Small orange diamond, but not the end of healing.